Hello. Good afternoon. Indeed, a very interesting session and most discussed about unlocking real-time visibility for informed decision making. So my name is Mandar. So introduction is done, so I'll straightway go into the topic. So first of all, I consider myself a student of supply chain even today, because the changes that are happening in supply chain and today why they are needed, if you look at the entire competitive age that companies are trying to prove, India look at, from a normal distribution to a e-commerce to a quick commerce distribution, the landscape is changing. And if you want to be competitive in the world, you have to take help of the data-driven decisions. And that's the purpose of the discussion that we are setting. And what we will be doing is we'll be discussing different topics on this. So one of the topics that we'll have is on the technology and digital transformations. Then we'll have on the supplier collaborations. Then we'll have on the measuring ROI and of the visibility initiatives, future trends and predictions, what's happening in the area of visibility, and in a way we can simply say is advanced analytics. The reason why I'm using this word advanced analytics is one side we have this evergreen, ever-going thing of AI, but on the other side, there are a lot of initiatives companies are coming up with on the OR side, operation research side as well. So I'm generalizing them using advanced analytics. And then we'll have certain follow-up rounds, follow-up questions. And then we'll have some questions for the audience as well. Please feel free to ask questions, but we'll keep that reserved at the end of the discussion. So we'll try to have our discussion first with the right questions, and then we'll pass it on to you. So my first question goes to Deepika. So we have been hearing this technologies like AI, IoT, blockchain. So what do you feel? How are they playing, enhanced visibility? How are they playing the role in enhancing the visibility? And if you can just share some of the successful use cases in your career or any, from your knowledge where you have seen this successful implementation of these areas.
Hello. Thanks, Mandar. So I would start by saying that yes, all the enhanced emerging technologies around IoT, AI, data block, they are all, playing a very pivotal role in enhancing the real-time visibility. Not just by, efficiently giving us the real-time data, but also giving it securely. I think earlier, yesteryears, data security was a major issue. So with data blocks data, what is helping us most is transmitting the data securely, building that trust, which was very important. Our IoT is helping us to extract the data from the right point, having the sensors, put in the right place so that we get the real-time data. And what AI is helping us is to transform that data into meaningful information, which helps us to take decisions at the right time. Because having a vast information data and not being able to turn it into meaningful information is something which then leaves us again in an ocean of information, and we would be left, drawn in the data. So it is very important, I think the role AI is playing to give us analytics and more important predictive analytics from descriptive now, which helps us, the organization taking the data is something which is making the systems and the technology much more efficient. And coming on, use cases, I think there are, multiple cases which are there in the industry. Specifically, if we start talking within supply chain and logistics, I think multiple FMCG giants, they are using IoTs for sensing, putting the sensors on their products. So I can talk from my, previous FMCG organizations where we build in IoT sensors on our packagings, developed our packaging such way that we could track how the product was flowing in the market. We could sense the temperature, humidity from it because the product, was supposed to be kept in specific temperature. It did help us in a lot of claims, in a lot of damages as well. So those are few, examples I can share. Coming to more towards logistics, in the current organizations, I see automation is playing a pivotal role where, especially in the European region where labor cost is so high, we've been able to cut down the costs and move the operations really faster by having automated pickups and having all the data integrated, having all mappings done. And so definitely, IoT along with clubbing with our AI technologies are helping to take much better decisions for all organizations, I think, across multiple functions. But definitely I see within supply chain, it does help us a lot.
I think, Deepika, important points. What I feel one of the most critical points that you just mentioned was on a real-time basis.
Yeah.
Because when we talk about AI, a lot of times we only think of like, how can I predict it for the future? I mean, simplest example is demand planning. We forecast what is going to be the demand in the future. But at the same time, what she shared was using IoT, if we can share real-time insights, what's happening there, and that will help you to take the decision which are data-driven. So if before anything goes wrong, those decisions will actually be very, very useful there.
I think where blockchain is definitely helping
Absolutely.
us to make sure that there is absolute, we are having transparency as well as security. So the trust which was, lacking with the organizations and the service provider is where the blockchains is filling that gap and making sure that the entire, flow of information and data is secure and will not be tampered with.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Deepika. So this is a very good case that she explained about successful implementation, but we also see a lot of cases where the supply chain initiatives actually they don't go through in most of the organizations, a lot of organizations. And so the question that I want to ask to Kaushik ji is what are the reasons? Why do these initiatives struggle to deliver results, and what goes wrong there, and what is needed for probably the future transformations?
Thanks, Badar. And I think I need to give a little brief about what I do and what has been my background. I have worked for large SaaS organizations, namely Oracle and Microsoft earlier, in my earlier career, spent around 20 years at Oracle. And, we used to talk about applications, ERP, CRM, HCM, and so on and so forth. And post-implementation, let's say 2 years or 3 years down the line, when we used to visit the customers, and of course, they were with us for good, we used to give them excellent service, but they used to say that, look, in fact, one of the CFOs used to tell me something which is very interesting, Mandar, that, he used to say that we have system of records, then we have reporting, etc., which is a system of analytics, but are we getting the system of intelligence, right? And today you're talking about AI, Deepika mentioned about it. It's leading to system of intelligence, but intelligence, what I understood, we need to look at it as a holistic, as an end-to-end processes. Most of the times when we go wrong, we look at it as silos, Are we looking at the end-to-end processes while we are trying to address the supply chain challenges, here specifically for supply chain, for various organizations, right? When you are going through a project like this, you would be changing your strategies, you would be obviously using different kind of technologies, you would have to reskill your teams, right? And all of this would need a visibility of the end-to-end processes, right? Unless you have the holistic view, you may be executing it in parts, you may be doing it one by one, but you need to have a full view of, that processes. So real-time visibility and end-to-end visibility, and it is process intelligence which works. I work for Celonis, which is a leader in process intelligence. For the last 15 years, we are at the Gartner Leaders Quadrant. And I'm not talking about my own company, but the fact is what attracted me to Celonis, and I was sharing with some of my co-panelists that I've just joined 2 weeks back, is the fact that we are bringing value to our customers. And that is what is going to make the difference as we move ahead. We talk about AI, etc. We also know about things like hallucination, lot of data. How do we bring it all into one place? And process intelligence is something which will actually help us in doing that. Thanks.
Right. Thanks, Kaushik. I think critical insights based on his experience that he shared, and some of the insights that he shared are even good learnings for somebody like me as well, who is like. So as I said, I consider myself as a student of supply chain throughout, because every day it is changing. One of the changes that we have seen in India in recent times is D2C, quick commerce, all e-commerce fulfillment. And question is how, like, I mean, so I was talking to a customer in the morning today. So he said, how come Amazon can't exactly predict you when you are going to get this delivery and, 99.99% they're accurate. What's happening today? So I just thought, I have somebody on the panel today who is actually the executor of these things. So I want to ask this question to Vaibhav. How does real-time visibility help e-commerce fulfillment and D2C operations?
Yeah, thank you. So before I begin, I represent Prozo. The picture is incorrect, right? I was so I am the CTO at Prozo, right? Mandar, while so Prozo is essentially a full stack supply chain company. We offer shared infrastructure to large enterprise brands and SMEs for warehousing. We also offer logistics aggregation services for both last mile freight and express freight, right? So we're essentially a full stack end-to-end supply chain company. Now coming back to the question, Mandar, right? You mentioned e-commerce, B2C and D2C, right? One of the misconceptions I see is that we usually talk e-commerce and D2C, in the same breath. Although, I mean, some of the folks in the forum would understand that, managing these supply chains and talking about real-time visibility for these supply chains is a different ballgame, right? So when we talk about e-commerce fulfillment, right? Imagine ordering from Amazon, right? For a brand, the question of real-time visibility ends as soon as you fulfill the order. Basically, you pack it, you hand it over to Amazon, and done, right? So that is where the e-commerce real-time visibility ends. That for a brand, he needs to know what is happening to the order. Has it left the warehouse or not, right? But if you come to the D2C, right, the last mile gets added to it, right? So basically, you are not only concerned about what is happening to the order in the warehouse or how it is getting packed, right? You're also concerned about how it will be and when it will be delivered to the end customer, right? So now we are talking about the fulfillment part and the logistics part, right? So what we do is we built everything in-house, right? When we started around a few years back, so we looked for fulfillment services. India is a cost-sensitive market, right? Just like Kaushik sir said, right? A lot of SaaS services are there, right? But when we talk about fulfillment, right? Manhattans of the world and Fishballs of the world were there, right? But we found that specific to Indian context, right? There's nothing out there. So we decided to build everything in-house, right? Same with the logistics part. When we built a logistics vertical, we built our own product. And then finally to the meat of the matter, right? We hear a lot, we hear a term these days, control tower, right? So what exactly is a control tower? Control tower essentially is a performance management product that sits on top of everything that you do, right? And does offer real-time visibility to everything. For example, while sitting in this room, with me managing a network of 2.5 million square feet of warehouse and approximately 500,000 shipments that are currently in transit, I can tell you how many have SLA reached, how many are currently being packed, how many are delivered today, how many will not get delivered today. They'll not get delivered. They'll be late, right? And it'll take me 5 minutes, right? So I think that is the crux of matter. That is what real-time visibility means in today's supply chain ecosystem, and doesn't only apply for B2C and D2C, right? A lot of folks are here from the B2B supply chains as well, right? With India growing, right? The modern, the MT and the GT customers today, right? They expect the same visibility that an end customer gets for a small parcel, right? So it just spans across everything, So I think the solution to this is building something that serves your own, right? That's number one. Secondly, you have to find a way to integrate all these data points, right? You talk about lot about these integrations, but why do we struggle with integrations, right? Half of the courier partners won't have an API, right? They don't have data to give it to you. They'll share an Excel every morning, right? Half of the folks, they won't have data. They'll tell you on phone, even today, right? They'll tell you on phone that, okay, this was delivered, right? Coming to the warehousing, right? Imagine running a warehouse and using 30 brands out of that warehouse. You're doing approximately 30,000, 50,000 D2C orders a day, right? You just imagine getting the status of 50,000 orders in a go, right? So the answer lies in integrating all these disparate data sources in a singular system that understands this, that is scalable enough, that is intelligent enough, right, to cater to tomorrow's needs, right? I think with doing all of this, I think we'll be able to solve it to a large extent, right?
So I think one important point that is coming to my mind here. So it's just a comparison. See, in order to create this visibility for the end customer, what we're doing here is multiple stakeholders are coming together, multiple vendors are coming together, and they are seamlessly integrating their informations with each other. Second angle is there are courier partners who don't have that data digitally available. When I say digitally, it is like system based, but they are sharing it on Excel. And third is we have, at least I have seen in India, and this is again true in most of the multinationals as well, the data sharing is a very big challenge here. You know, when we actually go to our customers and we talk about that we need this data and we can create value for you. And we have to go through multiple approval processes to get that data for a small piece of data. Sometimes we get mass data. I mean, very interesting thing. On one side, we talk about real-time visibility. People want that visibility. On the other side, the data sharing things, there are certain different reservations. I mean, interesting thing that we will have to probably come together and which will be one of the questions that I'll be asking to all the panelists later on. But interesting insights. Thanks, Vaibhav. Now, the second part is, let's say, like we now are doing everything good. Our company is doing everything good. But one of the critical stakeholder for us is our suppliers. Because if supplier is going to give us the information, then only that real-time visibility informations are going to be critical. So going to Prashant, so how do you feel this real-time data to enhance collaborations with supplier is critical? So how can we mitigate these disruptions with the suppliers? And are suppliers open for this? What are the best practices generally you do based on your experiences? What are the best practices that you share with the suppliers so that they also share this data and keep that transparency in the supply chain?
Sure. Thanks, Mandar, for that. Before I start, I'll just quickly introduce myself, if you may allow, just for 60 seconds. So I'm Prashant. I come from the same place where Bodhiji is born. I come from Gujarat, and we both are now settled in Delhi NCR. So that's how. I thought it might wake you up if you had a good food. Yeah? Okay. So, Mandar, this is a real scenario, real life challenges what we face day in and day out, right? And I guess not just we as in the sourcing organization, but as an entire business organization, right? Everybody wants a visibility. Everybody would love to have the clarity where my material is stuck. And I come from the GE, so we are the OEM or the manufacturer for the machines, gas turbine, which helps to power your mobile phone or the laptops. Anywhere in the world, when you put your laptop to charge, out of 30 minutes, 10 minutes is one which is generated by GE, right? So for us, to give an upkeep of the machines is very important, but that does not mean that when you have a power outage, you will call me, right? So please don't do that. How do we solve this problem, right? Or what are the challenges? So one is, most important is integrated supply chain. How do we, so Deepika talked about it, right? How do we have an visibility of the overall supply chain scenario, integrating from the supplier or even the partner to us who is going to integrate and produce a machine for the world, right? So if we can find a solution with an integrated supply chain, that would be the fantastic scenario. The second comes, once you implement that, the reliability of it, right? Which comes with the trust and confidence which you have with the supplier. That is where supplier relationship management, we in GE call that as a supplier partnership. So supplier is no longer a supplier and a customer relation, rather it is more of a partner. So we are the partner to solve the challenges which we are going to foresee to serve the end customer, right? Now, how do we solve that? We have to build those confidence. We have to help supplier out to solve their problem. We need to go Gemba. We need to do the Kaizens and improvement. Supplier should get that confidence that, hey, when I'm talking to you, If I have a challenge, you are going to come and solve it for me. That's where they will open up. They will be helping you with your predictive analysis, whatever your data says, and where you find or where you are stuck. And if you need a solution, they will come out and tell you that, hey, this is an early on engagement on alarm. Now, let's sit together and solve it for the business.
Right. Interesting insights. So it clarifies the base never changes. You need to have that proper collaboration with the suppliers, and you have to follow those old processes as well. They are never going to go anywhere. Now all this is good because we are Indians and we are always cost conscious. So immediately, I mean, the question is, all this is AI is good, visibility is good, but it will come with a cost. So question to Deepak, how do you help organization to calculate or quantify the return on investment for these visibility solutions? And what KPI should company track to measure their impacts based on your experience? Because very critical questions, at least
Yeah,
from an
definitely.
ROI point
When
of
money is involved in the ROI is definitely there. And thanks, Manda, for that. So just introducing myself. So I'm Deepak Jain. I work for Argan & Co. We are an operational management consulting company. So we help companies drive operational performance, starting from procurement, manufacturing, and through the whole supply chain. And about me, being in supply chain, one of the supply chain enthusiasts is everybody is here. So been in there for 20 years. Half of the time actually is spending on the floor, rolling up my sleeves and working and managing P&L, and half of the time in consulting now. Okay, now coming to the question about the visibility and the ROI, right? So any of the visibility solution, they don't generate ROI by itself, right? So you can have a world-class visibility, but if you don't action anything on that one, it doesn't generate any additional value. It doesn't give you any money. They only unlock the value if they are tied to a business objective. So working with a lot of different clients, what I've seen is a lot of companies focus on a cost savings. Okay, I will do this particular solution and there will be a cost saving for us. But what they miss out is on the larger financial impact of the faster decision making and the customer satisfaction. And that's why we come into the picture. So how do we help the companies, right? So first step is always when we go in the company, we always ask the sponsors the right questions. Why they are investing the money. They should have that answer. They should introspect first if they have decided to implement any solution, whether it's an IoT or a digital twin, what they really want out of that. Whether that's for the cost saving, that's for the sustainability potentially, for the customer satisfaction or something. They should be very, very clear about that one and like making that clear. The second one is the reframing the ROI matrix itself and linking those to the correct KPIs. So just give you an example, right? So RFID. So RFID has been there for a long time, right? It's there, everybody knows it helps inventory management, inventory accuracy, but still we don't see RFID everywhere today, right? It should be there because it's been there for a long time. Why the business case are not justified? Because most of the companies look for the first thing, okay, cost saving. If I do the RFID, I will save the labor cost in my warehouse. I don't have to do inventory count very quickly. It will do that. And same thing will happen in the store. What they miss out on, it will improve the inventory accuracy, which finally will improve the customer satisfaction and probably the uplift in the sales. So what we have observed is, so when the inventory, with RFID, the inventory accuracy increases by 4 to 5%, which results in 2 to 3% of the revenue uplift. So these are the KPIs, and these are the things companies should track and manage to justify the ROI on any of the technology. So these are the things we do. And the third, finally, we help the companies to pilot these ones. Okay, let's take up one store, implement RFID and see what is the actual change. Can we increase the revenue of the company? So that's how you link and decide the payback. Again, every company is there for making the money, but they should be taking the holistic approach, not just the short-term cost savings and everything. It should be why we are doing the particular solution and measuring those KPIs and then finally delivering the outcomes.
Right. I think this brings to a very interesting point of how do you balance the long-term strategic gains with the short-term ROI expectations? Because every initiative will not give you that short-term ROI immediately, because it will take some time for some of the things. It's like this. You had the old televisions at your home, but you still replace them with costly LED televisions or LCD television to start with. I mean, cost was more, but still you replaced it, right? So sometimes these are new technologies. Over a period of time, they will definitely, will be very useful. But let's ask this question to Kaushik. how do you balance this long-term strategic gains versus ROI expectations? Because from a process point of view, this is a very critical question.
Right, absolutely. And in one of the previous panels, I heard instant gratification repeated multiple times. And that's the era in which we are living in. The Gen Zs and others of the world are not looking at long implementation cycles, believe you me. And anything that goes beyond 2 to 3 months timeline, people lose interest. But at the same time, when you are leaders in supply chain, you cannot just focus on one silo, right? And only focus your energy on that, only later on to discover that possibly you should have looked at it holistically earlier when you get into into the next process. So therefore, it's like plan strategically, plan holistically, but execute in parts. Executing in measurable parts. Now that's exactly what, with a win in the first part, then you go to the next process or the next sub-process, if I may say. Because supply chain is a conglomeration of millions of processes, right? Sub-processes. But then you have the overarching phenomena. It includes various things, right? Now, so therefore, you cannot do all of that. I mean, you cannot get into major supply chain project which goes on for 2 to 3 years. People will lose interest. So have a holistic view, build the process, like you rightly said, Mandar, build the process upfront. Yeah, that's what needs a lot of cerebral work. And then have a visibility for the entire chain. And then you say, hey, we will now implement parts of it, and we will go in this manner. That's the best way to balance the long term with the short term.
Great. Thanks, Kaushik. So, same question to Prashant, but from a supplier point of view, because there also you have certain, because if you are investing the same things for visibility things with the suppliers, then you are not going to get your ROI in short term, because then you are actually strategically investing in that supplier, and long term that supplier is going to give you benefits. So how do you balance those while discussing or dealing with the suppliers there?
Yeah, sure, Mandar. So let me take it from the 30,000 feet to coming onto the ground, right? So when we start long-term strategic planning, we always start which is more aligned to the business goals and vision and missions, right? So whenever we do that, even with the identifying a right supplier or working with the supplier, the sourcing or a supply chain as an organization is always been a backbone to any of the business entity, right? Or any corporates for that matter. Now, how do we strike a balance with supplier in such a way that it helps us to solve our long-term challenges, but it is going to repay us in a short term? Now, how do we do that is a question, right? Suppose today, if I'm facing a challenge in terms of scaling up my supplier's capacity, now, and I'm just taking some of the examples which we are facing as a challenge in a real world scenario today. So we go ahead and invest into the supplier. We even do the CapEx investment and whatever is the requirement in terms of building the capabilities to fulfill our parts requirement or the components requirement, right? Now, those are going to pay me back maybe after 2 years or 3 years. Now, how do we do that? We could do it because our business needs it, right? Now, tomorrow, if business comes out and tells that, hey, no longer we are not that lavish an organization where we have a good amount of order backlog, then how do I do it? We need to have our supply chain more agile and flexible to navigate through to a more meaningful resource deployment organization, right? That's where strikes the balance. So whatever we say, AI is going to work over or take over, but those striking a balance is a real life scenario, and that is something which we all sitting here in the room is going to take a lead on that.
Thanks. Very similar question, Deepika, for you, because you are leading a lot of transformation initiatives. So how do you prioritize the visibility initiatives by balancing the cost and impact? Similar topic.
So Mandar, I think everything starts, like Deepak, Prashant and Kaushik have already said, with the vision of the company as well. So, it is very important what as a long term, as a company we are wanting to do. So I think once everybody in the boardroom are aligned, then it is more of breaking it into smaller part. Kaushik talk about doing pilots, so doing a proof of concept brings that confidence. So, it's also very important to have that, discussion, open discussion with the vendor or the service provider, telling them that we are looking to first see the capability, because I think, you talked about scalability as well. Everybody now is also concerned about will the application or the solution be scalable enough. So I think doing a proof of concept is something I've seen has always helped, me, or I've seen my, team around me to pull out things when we have successfully done a proof of concept. That brings a lot of confidence. It shows, yes, in a long term, what are the benefits which can come in. Yes, probably it will take time to come in, but it gives much more confidence to the leadership, to the users, to the teams, and then brings a much more buy-in. So doing a
That's
proof of
true.
concept is one thing I've seen is always, helped in gaining the confidence of the team and, driving in or bringing in the people together for working for any transformations we are doing it.
That's true. I think proof of concept gives a true indicator what probably the potential of the impact is going to be.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's not only about, the concept itself. I think it's also about then the technology. Is it also matching with our need? Because
Yes.
I've seen, a lot of failures coming in when organization or teams run behind because the solution is being implemented by XYZ organization, which is a supply chain giant, and they just adopt it without seeing whether there is a business need or not. So I think the technology also meeting the business need is one of the, key imperatives. So doing a
Agree.
proof of concept also brings that out, whether, if it is a failure, it shows that it's not meant for our organization or the reason we are trying to bring in or the solution we are looking for. So it's not only about giving a visibility or bringing that confidence within the leadership, but also demonstrating or bringing that out, whether the tool or the solution bringing on table, whether it is meeting our requirement or not.
Great.
So I totally agree with you, Deepika. See, it's whether we are doing technology for the sake of improving processes or whether we are trying to, modify our processes just to adopt technology. That's always, that's a debate.
Yeah, because
Should you adopt best practices or should you really look at your own processes and then take a call as to which way you need to go? Yeah.
Because in today's world, I think AI is such a buzzword that everybody wants to, adopt AI without even looking into whether they really need it or what, in AI do we need it? Do they need predictive analysis or do they really need just, some analytical tools to be doing, but it's more of people just want to jump into AI because everybody is doing it. So I think what's important for especially the leaders to look into is what is the business problem we are trying to solve in, what is that we are wanting out of it, and then select the right technology, which is required.
Right.
So, Mandar,
Yes.
just to add little bit more on that, on integrated supply chain, and the idea came to, or the real example which we are experiencing came to my mind, I thought I'll share. So, see, we have close to 7,000 installation in the world, right? Now, when these big installations are running, we don't know which machine is going to stop when. Now, how do we do the predictive analysis? Is something our engineer works continuously with the customer, with the project on the site, with the machines. So they monitor the condition of the performance of the machines, and then they create an intelligent data point, which helps us to plan our supply chain. Now, once we have those information in terms of which part might be required, which component might be required, we plan it with the supplier that, hey, this is going to be my long-range forecast requirements. This is going to be my short-term requirements, right? So, starting from the end customer to the supplier who is going to manufacture the part, or even the raw material producer, if once we integrate that entire ecosystem, this is going to be the fantastic win for us. in an industry.
Right. Interesting thing. I think for those who don't know, there's one different angle he just has shared on the predictive analytics side. We always see a demand planning forecasting on a finished goods side, but this type of industry requires a different type of predictive analytics. This is predicting the failure of the part. There, the install base capacity analysis, mean time between failure, mean time to failure, these kind of KPIs, these kind of analytics are used there to predict it. Example, take any spare part management for, let's say, HP laptops, Dell laptops. They use these kind of technologies. A very interesting area for those who want to just explore it. So very critical point he touch based on. Yes.
Just want to add on that you're talking about the long term and the short term. How do we balance it? So I've managed a couple of large projects in the past and even seeing some of the clients struggling with it. So I think it's a phased strategy. So definitely agree with Kaushik and Deepika said, break down into the smaller parts and everything. But it's a phased strategy which delivers the quick wins also and also paves the path for the longer term transformation. That's necessary. Because if you just look at, both are necessary. If you just look for the quick wins, definitely you're going to lose out on the long-term benefits and everything. And if you just look at the long-term, a lot of companies say, okay, we want to do a digital twin. This is a world-class supply chain we want. You will not get a buy-in from anybody in the organization. And the change management will be a disaster and the project will definitely fail.
That's true.
So just to give you a quick example also, right? Just a very simple one. Like we talk about digital twins and everything. Definitely company wants to do that. That's my long-term objective. But it has to be broken down into the simple things. First thing can be, okay, just a container tracking. Let's do the container tracking, but there is a benefit. You can show the immediate benefit of the container tracking. You can reduce the detention and demurrage. You can reduce the expedited freight. So it's giving you the quick wins, but also laying the foundation. Then it will be integrated with your overall digital twins, where you can do a smart container tracking. Maybe you can do the AI and ML also, you can have the weather analysis, what the congestion looks like, but it has to start from the small steps and also because as we said before, right, every business is there to make money. So there should be some low-hanging fruit, which continuously should be picking up. Otherwise, people will not get motivated. They will not go on the journey because some of the time, these projects goes for years, couple of years, and even by the time company get maturity, it can be 3 or 4 years when the company is mature to use these kind of tools.
Right, absolutely. Same question, but from a different angle. Let's ask to Vaibhav. See, all four of them have explained their point of view because they are actually dealing with only one stakeholder here or one group of stakeholders. For Vaibhav, the challenge is different because he has to manage his own cost and his stakeholders are multiple customers that he's serving to. So for him, same balance is going to be a different one, balancing the visibility initiatives of like balancing the cost and the impact piece of it. I think important, like let's understand from a service provider's point of view where they struggle and how they balance on it. Yes.
I think for mortals like us, service providers, right? It's just like how you solve life, right? You basically fix the leaky buckets as soon as possible, right? Basically, what gives you immediate impact, you fix it ASAP, right? And then you need believers, and you need people who believe in the future, right? And once you have that belief, I think you go all in, right? So where we are today, I think we had a long-term view 4 years back, right? And we have a view today for 4 years down the line, right? So I think measuring that, believing in that, the return that your belief would give, I think is the answer to it. But just like Sir said, is Gen Z, but it's life, right? You fix the leaky buckets as soon as you can, right? So and it goes with the topic as well, right? In terms of real-time insights, you have if you are innovating, if you're going every day, you'll have low-hanging fruits every day, 365 days a year. So you fix this, you continue fixing them, right? And then you have one moonshot, right? Or 2 moonshots, right? This is my moonshot, I'll do it, right? And then you just do it.
Great. I think now I am asking a general question which many of you will have in your mind. What is the future? So same question I'm going to ask to all our panelists. What trends in supply chain visibility should business prepare for the next 3 to 5 years, short term? 5+ years, it's a different because technology is going to change. Today, ChatGPT, something else will come after 5 years. So let's talk about next 3 to 5 years. How do you see what should businesses should prepare for? So
I can start with. if you want.
yes.
So I think it's already happening, but we'll see more and more of what is a predictive decision making. So that will happen. So right now, till now, we talk about a supply chain visibility, and still we are more in a reactive mode, which will go away, and we will start doing more of a predictive one. So anything, even when the problem occurs, we can predict that and take a action before the problem occurs. So that will be the trend in the future. And just probably giving you an example again, like I was talking about the containers and everything. So container tracking was always there. We could see, okay, what is happening, where my material is, and I could plan. But that was always in kind of a retrospective. We're thinking, it's already delayed, what can I do? I can source from different suppliers. But now with the generative AIs and everything, what we can say, okay, we can link the geopolitical situation. We can feed the newspaper articles to the AI. And also we can do weather pattern, what is happening. So with all those things, it can predict, okay, there's going to be some problem in 4 weeks' time. So you should plan for your second option or something, what is happening. So I think that will be the future. It will help you in the decision making more in a predictive way.
Yeah, absolutely. Do agree. If I can go now. Yeah. So look, AI is going to stay. But if you think about Gen AI, I think all of us are hearing about it for the past 2 years, right? So it's as nascent a technology like that. And now everybody has an AI strategy. Now the point is, AI, end of the day, is taking or throwing a decision based on the huge data set that it is quizzing on, right? And that can be spread globally. Now, how can we make it more meaningful for AI to throw up a decision which is absolutely in line with what is required for the business? So what we say specifically is that you need to first streamline your processes, build in the intelligence in your processes, and then let AI do the rest. So if AI starts quizzing on the process intelligence layer or the PI layer, what happens is the decision making becomes that much more correct, and it really becomes what is required by the organization. So we kind of say that there is, no AI without PI. So that's what I see as a future, right? AI will be there. AI will really grow from strength to strength. But of course, it has to be moderated. It has to really get the right data sets so that hallucination and wrong decisions are not getting thrown at us. Yeah.
So I'll just add in here, yes, definitely, I think predictive analysis is something we all should be looking up to. I think most of us have also started already adapting it, and it is something to look up to for the next 3 to 4 years. But if I look into, what is the current challenge in the digital transformation phase is data integration. I think that's the piece where all, service providers and the organizations end up, discussing, and there are times we do not adopt a solution because of how the data integration will be there. So I think cloud-based data integration sharing is something to look up to in the next 3 to 5 years, because that is, once that really picks up, it becomes scalable and is also secure. I think that is going to be a game changer in the field of, digital technology.
So, look, AI is definitely, as Kaushik said, is going to be there, right? Believe it or not. It is going to take away many things from routine. However, it comes with its own challenges. And in next 5 years, how do we solve those challenges in terms of cybersecurity, right? That's going to be the big challenge in front of all of us. Ethical data analysis, right? How are we going to talk on that? What are the steps which we are going to take at it? We have the pool of data in front of us, not just we, but many of the data which is floating around. How we can safeguard those data is something which we have to think through it, and we'll have to solve it for the future, right?
True, yes.
So I think when I was asked to do this session and, I saw the topic and I asked someone, what should we do? I just mentioned AI a few times, right? I think that should solve. But really, specific, coming back to the topic that we have, real-time visibility, right? I think this is applicable to all the folks who are out in this room, right? I think we'll have, very, very soon, we'll have very, very specific agents, right, who will be built for your own use cases, right, who understand your specific businesses, right, to give you the data that you need, right, in the most convenient consumable form, right? So I'll give a very small example. Imagine you have an agent, right? Sir mentioned, right? GE has a specific business where they're monitoring devices, right? Imagine an agent who basically works through the night, builds up all the dashboard analytics, mines the data, right? And when you log in the morning, it's already there, and you're chatting to it via voice, right? So I think the two keywords there is agents who are built specifically for your business, right? Generic AI is very hard to implement. But if you're going to have agents who understand your business, who can mine on your data, I think that will be the first, that will be the game changer. Second is these agents will help you consume this data in a much simpler manner as compared to today, right? For example, if you have to get your, assuming you have to get your supply chain, if somebody asks you, but how does my supply chain look like today? Right? I think it will take a couple of hours at a minimum. Right? But these agents will understand and they'll give you the data in the most easily consumable manner, right? I think this will be very soon voice-based, right? You ask and it'll return the data. I think that is something that I look forward to.
It was not planned, honestly, but I want to actually put one of my thoughts here. And this I'm actually facing with a lot of customers when we go and meet them. You know what the problem is? On one side, we are talking about this AI and all, but on the other side, the reality on the ground is if you go and speak and kind of introspect your own companies, wherever you are working at, look at the dashboards that you have built. Look at the KPIs that you have set for your own companies. What are you doing? Classic terms, actually, हम लोग गरे मुर्दे उखाड़ रहे हैं. हिस्टोरिकली ये मेरा सेल था, ये मेरा कॉस्ट ऊपर गया, ये ऊपर जा रहा है, नीचे जा रहा है. वी ऑल आर टॉकिंग अबाउट द डैशबोर्ड्स ऑन हिस्टोरिकल डेटा. This is history. This is actually descriptive analytics. Here what we are talking about is a base is descriptive. There we are talking about a predictive analytics which will kind of predict something. And what the expert panelists are mentioning about is a next level cognitive analytics. And on top of it, we are talking about agent. So one of the angles what I personally feel is if you want to be ready for this transformation at company level, we should actually start change management at a data level. That is one of the major challenges that the companies are going to face for, those who have that will move fast. Those who don't have, probably, preparation is going to be a very critical role that companies will have to play. That is one of my, things based on my experiences dealing with different companies, what I feel. And I was just sharing an example. Yesterday night, I was watching a podcast of Manyavar, the kind of business they have set. I think this is a great case study. What data has changed their business. Do watch if you, I follow this Think Brain. That's one of the channels on YouTube. And he has interviewed the son of Manyavar founder. Great. Less than 3% Manyavar type of business, less than 3% excess stock they have. Look at how they have used the data effectively for the businesses. One of the greatest gross margins, base use case I actually have come across. Right.
Mandar, I just want to add in here, I think there's one thing we've not talked of is upskilling our man-force. So I think with the change in technology, that's also one important thing to look up to. So I think we all should be ready to first upskill ourselves and also look into upskilling our teams because we are looking into adapting emerging technology as probably the Gen Z and the new ones, they are already learning them in their colleges, in their schools, but most of us, for us, it's a change. So I think that's also something we all need to be really prepared into, unlearn the things, the way of workings we have been doing in, and upgrade ourselves, upskills ourselves to learn the new way of working.
That's true.
And then, Mandar, see, look at from the perspective like as an organization when you have implemented all those dashboards, right? But who is going to feed in? The supplier. That information, how do you integrate?
Very critical.
From a supplier, that how he feed in the data to your system is something when we solve, the complete integration, complete ecosystem is going to run fantastic.
Absolutely. Agree.
Because then it's when it will be end-to-end integration, right? Otherwise, it's just, the last mile integration.
Yeah,
with-
that's exactly what I was going to say, that the change management is not within, but also without. And you rightly said it's partners, right? Whether it's the supplier or the customers, everybody is a partner in this extended world. So that's a very important point, Deepika, you raised. Thanks for bringing it.
Yes. So I think we are reaching to the closure. So let's close this on a quick question to all of them. Quick 30-second question. Sorry. One game-changing initiative that has worked for you.
Building everything in-house from the ground up, right, and having our own control tower for real-time visibility from day zero. We built everything later and the visibility part first.
Great. When I was talking to him, the way he explained him that we first build technology and then they build business. I think it speaks themselves. Yes.
For what has worked for us, I think I already talked about is bringing a proof of concept, showing what the capability is and then going full blast. So that's something which has worked always.
So probably just an example where when I was working with Coca-Cola, so this is one of the initiative I led was about the IoT and the predictive maintenance. So we had a lot of fridges and the fountain machines and everything, and we used to maintain that as a company resources. But we implemented IoT in those ones. We could track that and use the AI and ML. But it took time. So it took probably 1.5 years. But after that, we could do 70% predictive maintenance for that one. So it's just, again, having that patience, having the clear objective, what we really want to achieve, that paid off.
So globally, for us, what made a lot of change, we started as a process mining company. Now we are into process intelligence. So what we say, universally connected, universally applied, right? Which essentially means the intelligence layer should be across, but it also, I think you talked about integration, Deepika. It has to be connected to all these applications. So game-changing moment, universally connected, universally applied.
So if I were to use only one phrase, I would say invest in supplier partnership, right? Now, what does it mean? I mean, it's just a one phrase. So I'll give you just real life example. I was talking to somebody who is providing a logistic solution, right? I said, we don't use it in India, but definitely many of our supplier partner is going to use it. Now, if they have a problem, it's my problem. I own that relation. I own that partnership, right? If I solve their problem, the problem is solved for me. We go Gamba. We improve the processes or the supplier's challenges, right? That's where I say invest in supplier partnership.
Great. So open for questions now. We designed for 10 minutes. We have 8 minutes. So as many questions we can take in 8 minutes, we can take. Yes.
Just one small observation. I think since I'm referring the topic out there, like more the visibility you have got, you're equipped with more sensors, more IoT-based devices out there. It means more data, more information you are gathering out there. So, do you think that the current AI, I should call it actual intelligence, will not be sufficient, I believe, to resolve or to take good decisions? What's your opinion?
And this question is for?
For anyone who can take it on. Actual intelligence will not, because if you have a good information, why we have been looking forward that we need AI, basically artificial. We want to take some decision artificially.
So maybe I'll take this up and, others can pitch in. So I would say, AI or actual, information or artificial intelligence, as we, want to call it, will all depend upon what you are looking from the information. So yes, like mentioned earlier, we have really a pool or rather an ocean of information with us. What we are really looking out of it will matter. So probably I'll, start with the example here. So Vivek, when I was working with Procter & Gamble, we started with putting IoT sensors on our manufacturing equipment to do, really identify when the stops will happen, when it needs maintenance, when the breakdowns will happen. So I think the objective there was to go for predictive maintenance. So that's around, we in Procter & Gamble started building our, artificial intelligence algorithms around using the data around when do we need maintenance, what is going to be the life of the part we have put in there. So I think what is important is to identify what is the purpose you're trying to reach with the data which is there. So once it is there, you can then play around, because AI is an algorithm you write in. It's, you write all algorithms, you use Python, theorems, and you use all the data to come up with what is required with you. It gives you more meaningful information out of it, which helps you to then make decisions faster, is what I can add in here. Maybe others can.
Just one point. Life is changing very fast, okay? I remember in the late 90s, we had a product called Pager, which was there for, I think, 2 years. And then mobiles came in and Pager, the life cycle went. Today in the morning, one gentleman was talking about e-commerce has now become quick commerce, right? So Blinkits, okay, and Big Basket now, all of these are coming in. Now, to attain Uber. Uber is there for the last 10 to 12 years, right? What's happening is the product or the service life cycle, it's cutting short, okay? So we are not having a service, there is disruption all around us. Which is where, while IoT you're talking about, and in fact I have tried to do IoT at my home because I'm doing automation, but we obviously do it in the warehouses and other places, etc. But gradually, to quiz on that and to get meaningful information, AI will play a major role. And that's necessitated because life around us is changing much faster than what it used to be earlier, right? And so that's why AI comes in.
Yeah, just wanted to say, definitely the speed which you need the solution and the answers, that's definitely the reason. And the second thing I would say is there's nothing which cannot happen with the actual intelligence, as you said, Professor, right? So it can happen. So just give you an example. So it's a statistical, right? It's statistical forecasting you do. So it still works. But the effort you have to put from the actual intelligence to get a good forecast and continuously finding what are the different parameters you use, it will be a lot more effort. And the cost of that will be much higher than using an AI engine, which can automatically come up with, okay, what are the new parameters I should use for the forecasting? What are the things? What should be the weightage of that one? So that's why it becomes a necessity. So it will be more actually the cost savings than the actual intelligence.
I think we should take the next question. Yeah.
Yeah, so my question is to Prashant. I was reading a data recently, and there are 228 crores jobs in the world right now, out of which AI will have an impact on 107 crores of jobs by 2030. Now, if I have to put it in perspective in terms of only warehousing and freight industry, then Prashant, what do you think, how do we break this? I mean, AI's development or AI's induction or AI's usage with respect to our industry, how do you break this into progress? Say for 3 years down the line, where will we be? 5 years down the line, where are we going to stand? 7 years down the line, where are we going to stand? And 10 years down the line, where are we going to stand? Can you give me a sense of how can we break it in terms of progress of AI getting into warehousing and logistics industry?
So this is, first of all, great question, right? Thank you for asking. Now, if you look at, so you ask, I think, two things. One is on the job, how it is going to impact the overall scenario.
No, that I just gave the perspective. But
okay.
The question is, how do you break the progress of AI into our industry?
So on the logistics scenarios, I think it is very simple, though it looks simple, but it's not, is many things is going to get automated, right? Now, what is that? So we had a part manufacturing facilities, anywhere, any manufacturing company you take it, right? The real-time progress monitoring of the component or a part or even complete assembly was a nightmare before. If I take you back like 20, 30 years back, then the barcode came in, right? Then the data entry or the real-time monitoring of the progress came in, right? Has it solved the entire manufacturing process? No. It is still evolving, right? So the improvements or the kaizens are going to be continued. Now, the same thing is going to happen on the logistics segment as well. Today, as some of the panelists said, that we can use the predictive analysis of a weather forecast and plan our logistics shipment in a way that when and where I can be the receiver of those particular goods or a container, right?
Deependra Goyal is already planning in Zomato. This same thing.
Exactly, right? So now how do we use it and implement it? Now interpreting those data point is something is going to be retained by a human, right? It's not AI is going to give you the solutions. It will give you the 4 or 5 options. Like for example, today if you want to pick up a flight, right? You go and ask for the data point, you will get the data point, but the decision making is still going to be remain with the human, right?
Thank you. Thanks,
One on
Prashant.
that one is we recently did a survey of a lot of companies, and the one thing came out of that one is everybody, a lot of leaders think that the 70% of the planning, at least the demand planning or the demand forecasting, will be done by AI in next 1 year. So that definitely I see if you talk about the timing in 1 year time. So these are few things, few use cases.
This is a good input. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Which will be done by the system.
Thank you for sharing this. Yeah. This is
I
good.
just want to add a point here because this question I've been hearing a lot, like AI is going to eat job in general. See, what I want to say here is there are a lot of inefficiencies in all the processes that we are seeing around. The AI is going to remove some of those efficiencies. Will the jobs go away? The answer to that is those who are ready to change their minds to use AI for better decision making. It is like this, instead of they putting efforts on doing some calculation on Excel, if somebody else is giving them the ready decision that this you have to take, if that guy is validating those answers and taking those decisions, that's how those who will do that, they will survive. Those who don't want to, they will simply go away.
Agree,
For next
totally.
10 years, there will not be any job reductions. Trust me, there is enough work coming in.
Agree. Totally agree with you, Mandar. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. One last question, yes. Yeah.
Hi, Mani again, and possibly Deepak might echo my views out here. Many times when we go in to do operational excellence work and we look for past data, there literally is no data. Okay, so you actually have zero data. Many people are very, very, let me just say, let's just keep it at zero data. There's almost nothing. So when I'm looking at the conversation that we're having and real-time visibility, the whole thing depends on data availability, information availability at different points. And this data deprivation is primarily a lot to do at the supplier end, as you just mentioned a little bit, Prashant. So how is this going to happen? How is it that that data is going to be available for ensuring this real-time visibility, not just inside, you talked about the outside also, in the outside area, is that going to be a pull that is going to really make everybody become very conscious, set up their systems so that the data is measured and tracked at every point, so we get all of these things? Or what else is going to happen? Meaning, I don't want to address it to one particular person, but between Deepika and Prashant, if there's a thought on that, I would like to hear this.
Just want to say, definitely this is one of the largest or growing practice for us also, data strategy. So because every customer we go, we find that data is not there, and this is a practice which is the largest growing, so very good for us. But yes, I would like Deepika.
So I think you brought in a very relevant point. I think not just the data, the accuracy of the data is also very important. I think, all projects we start with, I think most of a good starting time goes in cleaning up the master data and having a governance around the master data and how it will be. But coming to your point on how do we get those data? So I think we're all, it again depends upon what is the solution we are bringing around. So if we are saying probably on a demand planning or on a logistics kind of solution where it is the data can be fetched from our ERP system, then that becomes our point of, I would say, data collection. If not, then if it is on tracking of vehicles, then our IoT sensors comes into place. For the example I was talking for manufacturing, which was into taking into consideration where the stop happens, where stop is happening, then again sensors play a role. So there are multiple ways of capturing the data. What way to use again will depend upon the solution we are looking into or the problem or the process we want to do in. So talking again of a lot of example, I think Microsoft now has a lot of solutions for a system-driven process, how the data can be captured in, whether be capturing it for ERP or the linked processes. We have solutions in the market as well. The problem again lies is how to integrate it with our already existing solutions. So once we are able to find what's the best solution for us, the data gathering starts from there. But you have brought in a very valid point, and it is always a point of discussion for how to start and where to get the data from.
It's more than anything else, I'm more thinking about how do we drive this behavior that data is important and we should start actually capturing data. Today we have in many situations, and we actually go downstream, tier 2, tier 3, and if you're looking at real-time visibility at that level, data capturing itself is unknown phenomenon almost at this point in time.
So to drive that, I would say behavior change or make people understand why their data is important, I think starts when gathering a small data set and showing the power of the data. I think all discussions, come to a logical solution or a discussion point when we are talking with data. So if you're trying to convince probably the suppliers or the, end operations and my operations on why the data is required, if you're able to gather a part of the data and show them that only a piece of data with this information, how many decisions we are able to take it. Imagine if we are able to, multiply it by X amount, our decisions will be much faster. So it again starts with, gathering a little bit and then showing people the power of the data and, the analysis that can bring it.
Sure. Maybe if you don't mind standing.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Because the conversation is quite interesting, right? And yes, you are very right. We are undergoing this real life scenario day in and day out. I was sitting with the supplier 2 days back in the office where we were trying and talking that what is your OTD performance, right? OTD is nothing but on-time delivery. Now, we measure supplier OTD based on our need by date. Supplier measure their performance based on their promise date. That comes the disconnect. I'll give you another example. Like, if you remember, we used to have a multiple charging cables, right? If you are in a house of 5 people, one has a C-type, one has a different, somebody has got an iPhone, it's not going to work. Now, this is the challenge which we might have to solve it for the future when we have a single communication data point. It is a dream. I think if it happens, everybody is going to help. And as I said, the complete ecosystem will talk the same language. Will it happen? I don't know the answer. When it is going to happen, we don't know.
This is a very short answer. I think ecosystem will help. Right? I think the country is growing. Everyone wants to get better. Right? So I think the ecosystem will enable it. Right? So and that is how it will happen.
And on that ecosystem, you also touch point one more interesting dynamics, or maybe Deepika also talked, that how you will gain confidence of a supplier to give you the real-time right data point, right? I mean, you have the system in place, but whether the data which is flowing in is correct or not, how do you make sure that it is correct? So that comes as in trust and integration, and an integrity of a supplier and you, right? You both are a real partner. Once you establish that culture, that cultural behavioral changes, once you have it right on the place, you are going to win.
I would just add, don't wait for the perfect data. Start with whatever you have. There is no end for the perfection.